Well, hello and welcome back. Today we are talking about the fight, flight, and freeze
There you
response.
go.
Hey, and
This
I
was
kept my teeth in.
well done. That is not easy to say, is it? Bit of a tongue twister.
Definitely. I know plenty of this because obviously it's to do with the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems,
Hmm.
um, and the fight, flight, and freeze. I don't know, Adele. I've seen so many people in this response uh, for so long now that it does cause a lot of health implications. And I know the following podcast after this will be going into stress and gut health. But
Hmm.
obviously, I'm interested to hear it from your angle. But I've just seen so many more people having this constant stress, this constant fight, flight response.
Hmm. I
What's
know.
your take? What's your take on it?
Well, yeah, it should be interesting because, like like you say, you will have looked and studied this in terms of its impact on gut health. So we're doing that next, which is brilliant. Because it's, do catch the next episode. It's going to follow on really well. The thing that you just said about seeing so many people, that is definitely true. And unfortunately, I think people either are not aware of it, so people have a lack of awareness of their own body, how it feels, how their breathing feels. You know, those kind of barometers for stress response that we can kind of catch those early signs. I think that's a big problem. And obviously, practices like yoga teach us to be more attuned and aware of those earlier, um, on a daily basis, which helps us to then detect, become our own detective, and go, this is something not feeling quite right. We have to understand what normal feels like for us, what a heightened, emotional or stress response feels like, and understand what it feels like to not be in that state. And then when you've got that awareness, then you need a few tools in your back pocket to be able to get yourself out of the stress response and back into rest and digest. So we kind of call those two phases the stress response, which is your FFF response, you fight, flight, or freeze, and then your calm response is your rest and digest. And they're kind of named like that to help us to understand the two parts of the nervous system, which you just said there is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. A lot of it's led by the vagal nerve, we now understand. And I think there's a lot of theory about this. I'm not sure it's very much proven yet in scientific research, but there's enough theory out there to make us take notice. And definitely, we understand that this nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It runs right through the body and it takes in information from the body. So I think 80% of the information comes from the body into this nerve and zoop up to the brain to understand which response we're in at any one time. And that means that it's listening to what's going on in the gut, it's listening to what's going
Exactly.
on in the breathing. It's like this, I think of it like this alien. It's got its little tentacles everywhere, and it's like, hmm, what's going on? And if it detects, a holding of the breath. So it's really clever. All of these signals will feed that information, that feedback loop will go back to the brain to say, yes, we're still in panic mode. It isn't safe right now to digest our food, which is what we'll talk about on the next one in terms of, I think, with the gut health impact. But basically, it's not safe to repair all the cells and tissues that I need a little bit of repairing, like the little cars can go around the body and go, oh, we need to repair that. I've cut my finger, I need to go and repair that. If you're in a heightened stress response and your body's taking that information because it detects that you're holding your breath or you're breathing quicker, um, or your muscles are tight, everything impacts everything else in the body. It understands that that means that we're in a stress situation, which means danger, right? So it's not okay now to go and repair that. And that's fine because, it should be the way it works, short and
Yeah.
effective stress response. And there's something called, I've got some notes on the course that I'm doing at the moment, which obviously stress impacts breathing. And it's called the allostasis, homeostasis and allostasis, and the allostatic load. And there's some little graphs which you can't see, but they show the stress response effectively going up like this. If you are watching on YouTube, I'm drawing it with my hand, and then it comes down,
Yeah. Up a hill, down a hill.
up a hill, down a hill, absolutely. And it should be, like a little roller coaster. It goes up, and it doesn't come down as sharp as it went up.
No, gradually.
Yeah, because then that response up needs to be quick. It needs to be like woof, because you might need to fight for your life. That's obviously what the fight, flight, or freeze response is designed for. So it can come down gradually. So it's a sharp. Think of the roller coasters, sharp incline. I mean, some roller coasters like the
Yeah.
Oblivion. Don't think of that
Oh
one,
God,
but
don't think of that one.
kind of like a gradual response.
Yeah.
But in some people, as you just said, that has become chronic and stuck.
It's
And
just a constant
instead of
thing.
it nicely coming down like this, it
Mm.
goes up. It tries to come down, but it might only get halfway down and then it's got to go back up again because something else has happened, and something else, and something else, and something else. And so it's kind of hovering up here, which then means we're never really able to go and repair that cut on our hand or that abnormal cell, or um get the nutrients from the food that we ate 3 hours ago, because we've
Yeah.
not come out of our stress response for the last 3 hours because we've been having a really busy day, dealing with awkward customers, or on the phone, or people coming up to our desk, or emails constantly pinging in, or road rage. And so we see the world that we live in now, it's not easy for us to come out of our fight, flight, or freeze response. So it's more important than ever that we're aware of that. And instead of just, what people do is they just keep going, like, if I just keep going, I can come out of my fight, flight, or freeze response at 6 tonight, and then I'm going to struggle because I'm so heightened. Because then, might have the kids to deal with, and it's still going on. So about 8, 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to collapse on the sofa. I feel so stressed. I'm not able to calm down.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be able to sit and just breathe and be quiet. I'm then going to need to like distract myself with my phone and TikTok and
Yeah.
the telly. And I'm probably going to need 3 glasses of wine to come down, because otherwise I'm never going to sleep. And so you can see that is terrible, for our health.
And
So
it's just a constant,
we need to be aware of it.
in that constant thing you were talking about, it is this thing that, you get to a certain level of stress and that just becomes the new
Yeah.
norm.
And
And
it
then
becomes
obviously it goes,
normal,
yeah,
and for you, so that you're now not used to what
actual,
does it feel like to come properly down.
mhm, yeah,
And that's why
um,
people are like, if you come to yoga for the first time, you can see with people that are new to yoga, you come to do the relaxation at the end, and the most obvious sign that someone's been living it up here and not used to coming down is they cannot be still.
yeah, fidget.
There's a lot of fidgeting going on that you say, right, we're going to lie still, and then they might be moving the head or moving the knees, and that's fine because we need to meet people where they're at. But so I wouldn't tell anyone off for that and say you must stay still. It's kind of like, but give permission for people to that, but let them know, maybe let them know at the end, like, just so it's okay if you feel the urge to fidget, just move your hands. But we can find another way to work with that instead of just nervous fidgeting, maybe breathing in, opening the hands, breathing out, closing the hands, opening them to the ceiling. I'll describe for people who can't see, when you're lying down, and breathing out to close them back in. So trying to work with movement and breath is really good if you're somebody that finds it really, really hard to be still and relax. Um, and then over time, as well as all the movement with breath, which we do in our practice, you'll slowly start to find that you're meeting yourself where you're at, but you're gradually teaching and reprogramming your nervous system what it feels like to slow down, what it feels like to breathe. And because of all that vagal nerve that's taking that information in, even if we've got a lot on our mind and everything's really busy and the information is we've got a lot on, it's all going on. If you're moving and breathing because you're doing a practice, that information will still come back to the
Yeah,
brain to say, we're not in a stress response right now because we're breathing slower and we're breathing a little bit deeper and we can't be like facing danger because the stress impacts the breath, so therefore the breath can impact the stress. It's got to be able to
that
work.
cycle.
So you
Yeah,
can use it to reverse engineer the stress, if that makes sense. And to kind of not trick, but manipulate the stress response
I
to say
completely get
we're okay.
completely get that because that's exactly what I do with clients when they are stressed and they are going to eat. It's like just take a few minutes, deep breathing, you know, from the abdomen, not the chest, from the abdomen, a few minutes of deep breathing. And that means that your body's relaxed, and that is when the mind can kick in and say, hang on, the body's relaxed, therefore, it must be relaxed.
Yeah, yeah, really important to find some ways to calm the nervous system that work for you. And that, there's lots of different things we can do. Breathing is one of the best ways because it's always there, it's free, we've never like not got our breath to go to. Even just paying attention to the breath and to sit quietly for 5 minutes and just close the eyes or drop the gaze and just watch your breath, starting to practice that skill of how am I doing? What's going on in my body and my breath? Because then you might notice you've got one shoulder that's kind of up around the ear. You think you're relaxed, but you're not. And it's like, where in my body do I hold stress? Is it in my tummy? Does it feel like it's clenched, like a clenched fist? Is it in my chest? Where in my body do I feel my breath? Because everyone is different and there's some um, unhelpful breathing patterns that go on as well, like reverse breathing and things like that that could do with, being corrected and some work. So understanding where you're at and what it feels like just to sit quietly, even if people just did that before they eat, would be great so that it's good because it's going to help them digest their food, but also it's like attaching that practice to something. I always talk to my clients about attaching a practice to something else that you're doing so that you don't forget, because otherwise life just gets in the way and you're in that hamster wheel, you're up here on the ceiling all the time, and then you go to bed and think, damn it, I forgot to do my breathing, or I forgot to do whatever that I've given to people to do. So if you can attach it to certain things, so if you just did that, sitting for 5 minutes before you eat, that would be amazing and would make such a difference for people with this stress response and learning. I think thinking of it like the volume, learning how to turn it up and down. Because we
Yeah,
need it, right? Sometimes people talk about getting rid of it, get rid of anxiety. I'll help you get rid of anxiety, help you get rid of your
yeah,
stress response. But
you
no.
do need that stress response now and again. As I've learned over the years, it's the constant stress that you need to manage in different ways. But that sharp bursts of stress, wherever it may be. I mean, say for instance, as I do now and again, do cold water swimming, that kind of thing. Yes, my stress response is there to start off with, but it's going to be beneficial to my health. It's the longer stress that's the problem.
Yeah, so long as you
So,
know and recognize, again, for some people, they might go and think cold water swimming's great and it's supposed to be healthy and they've not got a handle on their stress response. Go
yeah,
and plunge themselves into cold water
Oh,
and then get themselves into a whole lot of trouble because it's
yeah.
like it's causing that panic. So again, it's really about awareness and understanding that along with that, you need to be calming it down and doing the breathing, and that's why it can be helpful. But yeah, it's the other thing that can happen with the stress response is not having that increase that we need because it's just become so fatigued by being switched on all the time. This is when people may be in that kind of depressed state. It doesn't kick in. And there's this inactive stress response to even, dangerous situation that it's like, no, it's just it, and we've gone into shutdown
Yeah.
and that play dead kind of freeze response, and there's not the appropriate response at all. So it stays flatline down here. And so that's not helpful either. So we don't want to be not responding to stress at all. We want to be able to have a healthy nervous system that goes up, deals with it, and then comes down. And we can use lots of things. I was talking about this on a live I did today, but I have my own things that I tend to get triggered by. And the more you listen to this and you know that we talk about things like coffee a lot, the more you'll get to know as a my thing is
Oh my
driving.
God,
Well,
Renee, you've
I
got
don't think
this.
I don't think I was gonna get it in. Actually, we could get it in because too much caffeine
Oh yeah,
heightens the
does
stress
have the stress
response.
response. Yeah.
So we should probably have talked about coffee. I do like the odd coffee, but if you're to drink, going back, I'll tell you my driving story in a sec, but going back to that story I was telling about, a fictitious character that has the stressful job and the emails and stays up here, and then it gets to 9 o'clock and they need the wine to calm down and go to sleep, which is probably fairly normal. People, oh, I need a glass of wine at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Um, and then what do you need the next day? Because then you're shattered because you've had the wine. That's probably affected your sleep. You're not really slept very well. Now you're knackered. You go straight for the coffee. I need the coffee. I need the coffee.
Caffeine. Yeah.
All morning. I used to see people in the corporate world chugging coffee like all day. They never had a
Yeah.
coffee out of their hand. And it's like, ooh, are
Oh
you
yeah.
then going to be able to wind down at the end of the day?
Probably not.
Are you going to sleep well?
Oh no.
So, it's all linked, and we don't want to be like the
The
doom
killers of
and
joy.
gloom, the angels of death of like no alcohol, no coffee, but it's always balance that we
Yeah,
need. And I'd
absolutely.
say I do love a coffee, but mostly in the morning, not so much in the afternoon. Drink your water then, rehydrate. But the driving story, yeah. So my thing is driving, and if I'm going somewhere new, I don't like it. And if it's a bit treacherous in terms of like this place that I go for my course that I do is really hard work on my nervous system because it's really windy, bendy roads and really steep hills. It's like the stress response. You go up, 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 up,
Totally.
and then you go down, 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 down. And there's this bit where you go up, and then it's a very, very tight bend. You've got
That's
to go
like,
back on yourself, like really like a hairpin,
yeah,
literally. And so you've got to take your car over, right over, and then try and really whip the steering wheel round. And I've noticed it really triggers my stress response. So the first few times I did it, it was like it triggered the stress response longer than I'd like.
yeah,
So I'd arrive at the place after doing the bend. I'd be trying to control my breathing, but it was like I was still like a bit shaky and, stressed. And then it took a while to calm down. So that I've been practicing with that particular scenario, thinking, what else can I do? What else can I do? Because I've got awareness of the tightness in the shoulders, the rapid breathing, and also a feeling of, for me, like weakness in the legs or like that jelly legs type feeling.
oh
So
yeah,
really just really getting to grips with this is interesting. I feel it in my chest, my top of my shoulder, my legs have gone a bit weird, bit shaky, breathing rapid. So understanding your personal response to stress. And then how long does it take you to calm down again? And so the last few times, just been at the weekend, there and back, Saturday, Sunday. I was using other things. So I was using some breathing, different kind of breathing to blow the breath out, like I'm breathing through a straw. So
yeah,
that lengthens the exhale. I've been using mantra. So I would say to myself on the way up the hill, like, I can do this and I am safe. I'm safe. I can do this. So a kind of empowering mantra and a feeling of safety, building that. And then I added in a little bit of chanting because we'd been doing some chanting in the course, which was nice. So doing that on the way up, so before the actual, because I know the stress response is going to kick in. So doing that before the bit where it's going to kick in, and then also doing it after
Yeah,
as well, meant that this time, I've not even parked up. It's not far after the hill, the place, and I've not even really parked up when I felt more baseline normal, rather than 3 hours later kind of thing. So it was a massive win for me to be able to deal with the thing that I didn't want to do, and then deal with it calmly. And that's what we want. We want to be able to live our life meeting the responses in a normal way and finding ways that help us to come back out of that stress response healthily and safely, and just get it working how it's meant to work.
so you've mentioned obviously a few different things that can happen when we're stressed. And I know obviously everyone's going to be different, but in that kind of chronic stress situation, can you give the listeners just a few things that they should be looking out for that will indicate that they are in chronic stress and, you know, they need to look at that?
Yeah, and the reason why it's unhelpful, obviously, it's this releasing of adrenaline, cortisol, all these unhelpful hormones swimming around in our body that are not helpful for us to be there long term. They're designed for a short burst. They're designed to be able to, they get our muscles tense for
Yeah,
fighting. So all the blood flows to like the extremities, hands, fists, feet for kicking and fighting or for running. So we might need to run away, which is why running kind of heightens that fast breathing
yeah,
and running, it's that kind of sympathetic nervous system activity. Um, so then you might feel your muscles are tight because it's had that impact. So you might feel that you're clenching your jaw, holding
yeah.
your
Big
teeth.
one.
Um, Shoulders might be up around the ears, and doing those deep breaths, maybe rolling the shoulders would help. You might feel that the tummy is clenched. So some people feel they can't eat because they
Yeah,
feel like their tummy is tight. And that's a natural response from the body to say, I don't want to eat right now
yeah,
because I'm scared, I'm stressed, it's not good. So just looking out for those kind of physical feelings and also feelings in the body, like and also feelings in the breath, sorry. So if your breath has become very shallow, like up into the chest, rather than a nice relaxed, deeper breath. Lots of things like that. And then there's lots of other things I mentioned, like the weakness in the legs, jelly legs, sweaty
yeah,
palms, that kind of thing. So yeah, just understanding there's no better way to look out for symptoms for you than checking in regularly throughout the day, and especially if you feel under pressure, check in then because you might think of something that I've not mentioned that is better than looking it up on Google or whatever because it's your personal response that you want to get to know your body, really understand how it works, how it ticks, what your little habits are. There's no better way than that. And remember just as well that this is a response that is in response to a real or imagined threat. So this, like just before we finish, is really important because it might be that there's no real threat, and there is usually no real threat. So the threats that we feel are real in our head because we're projecting into the future about what if this goes wrong and what if that happens is very different to how it might play out. And your body's going to react the same. So keep a watch, even if you're sat watching telly and you think, well, I don't need to check in right now because I'm not, nothing's going on.
be surprised if you watch it.
Yeah,
For goodness sake, check in.
check in and go, oh, actually, I thought I was just sat here, but I'm super stressed.
Yeah.
And then it might be good to switch the telly off and do your 5 minutes breathing and checking in rather than just letting yourself get distracted and not bringing your nervous system down.
If it's crikey, I would say probably the TV is one of the most blooming stressful.
Especially if you're
Oh,
watching the bloody news.
oh God, yeah.
So I could talk about this forever, as we always say, the bit of the brain, the amygdala, all this sort of stuff. But really, essentially, I think I've covered the main bits, which will give people a really good idea of what it is, what it's there for, what a healthy stress response looks like, and the fact that most of us are not operating from a healthy stress response. And so to get a handle on that, I hope that helps people.
Oh, I definitely will. There's loads of chunks of information that absolutely brilliant. Is a little, as we said at the start, will feed nicely into the next podcast as well.
Yeah, do tune in next time because in a couple of weeks, we are going to be talking about how this that we've just talked about today impacts your gut health.
Yeah. So definitely tune in for the next one, but let us know what you've thought about this podcast this week.
Mm.
And where are you on your stress? Do you see yourself as constantly stressed? And would you like any help to bring down that stress? So feel free to put in comments, like, and share, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, definitely. Let us know. Do drop us a comment and we'll see you on the next one. Do make sure you tune in for that. Bye for now.
Bye.